Hello, my name is Untitled, and in this video I want to talk about different classes in iDempiere. So, there are a lot of different classes in iDempiere, and I want to talk about some of them. And the first things I want to talk about are the model classes, which you can find in the base plugin under our compare model. And here are all the model classes from the core tables. And the business logic is implemented in the M classes. So if you wonder why something happens when you create a new sales order or other things, then you can take a look at these classes. So let's take a look, for example, at M order. And as you can see here, there's a lot of business logic in this class, which you can use in your own code. For example, to copy a given order, or this, for example, when you create a new order in code, then a lot of fields are filled with default values. When you use model classes in your code, default values which you set in the application dictionary, I talked in another video about this, will not apply. So if you want that when you create a new model and you have a custom model, for example, which you created by yourself, and you want to apply default values, then it's a good idea to do this in the constructor of the model. Also, if you have a model which represents a parent tab in a window, then you can, for example, create a getter to get the entries from the child table. And you do this with the query class, which is also a class I want to talk about. If you want to ask the application about models for a given table, you can use the query class. It has different constructors, where you can, the most commonly used constructor is to provide the table name, the context, a where clause, and the tracks name, transaction name. And the where clause and the transaction name don't have to be filled, they can be empty, and then it will find all the entries for a given table. So how do you use the query class? You create a new query and provide a table name, like you can see here. You can provide a where clause, which you can just type in, like for example, if you want to find all the entries from the product table, then you create a list of product and create a new query. Then you can use the environment class to get the context. The query should find all the entries from the order table name, and the where clause where the name equals test, for example. Then you have to tell the query that you want a list. You also can only get the first entry, or you could directly get the first entry ID, and you can set the order of the list by setting the order by clause. If you use a question mark in your where clause, then you can provide a parameter or a list of parameters, where you then can enter the value which should be written into this question mark here, just like if you would use a prepared statement. And that's how you can load entries. And then you can iterate over this. And do something with these products. For example, set the name to test2 and then save the product you just altered. Yeah, so every time you modify a model in code, and if you want to make the changes persistent, then you have to call save. There's also other save methods where you can get an error message. So if the saving fails, you get an exception, which you can then handle. I don't want to save these changes here. Yeah, the query class is very powerful if you want to modify models in code. Then, if you want to know what you can do with callouts, then you can go to the base callout plugin and take a look at all the callouts there are. For example, here's the callout for the sales order or purchase order table. As you can see here, there are different methods to validate something. For example, if the business partner changed, then this callout right here will get executed and some stuff is done. I recommend you to look at the existing code if you want to learn about the application. If you want to know what you can do with processes, then take a look at the iDempiere based process plugin, where a lot of processes are. For example, the import processes. If you write data into one of the import tables, and then you import this. For example, the import product process. Then you can take a look what it does and maybe modify it. If you, for example, add a new field to the import table and you want to use this field in your import, then you have to modify this process right here. And yeah, as you can see, the first thing which is done is some validation, and then where is it? Yeah, somewhere down here the products are created. In a process, and all the processes extend one class, the server process class. And if you want to create an own process, you also have to extend this class. It provides you with two methods: the prepare method, where you normally read all the parameters you get from the application dictionary, and in the do it method you do the business logic you want to implement. If you're not familiar with all the factories, then you can take a look at the base plugin. Oops, here. And here are some examples of different factory classes. For example, a lookup factory, a model factory. And when you open them, you can see the class and take a look at them. Here, for example, you have the default model factory, which provides you with models. Yeah, and if you want to learn about how all the code works, then I recommend you to take a look at all these classes you can find right here. Then we have two clients in iDempiere, the Swing client and the web client. The web client classes are located in the iDempiere UI ZK package. And here's a little change between other bundles, because the source is not in source but in webinf source. And if you create a fragment for this bundle here, you also have to place your code in webinf source, otherwise it will not be found. Yeah, here for example we have all the editors. For example, the string editor, and all editors extend the W editor, which has some basic methods you need for every editor. So if you want to create your own editor and you're not really sure what you have to do, then I recommend you to take a look at all the other editors which are available here. Then you have the Swing client and the iDempiere UI Swing package. And here you have, for example, the editors for the Swing client, which are located in here, I believe. And editors in the Swing client, they start with the V. For example, we have the V string editor right here. So this is the editor for the web, and this is the one for this Swing client. So if you really want to develop for iDempiere, I recommend you to take a look at the code which already exists before you start writing your own code, so you can see what other people did and how the code works together. What else can we talk about? Yeah, we have some utility classes which provide us with useful methods we can use in code. For example, here's this callback class you can use in your own code to implement a callback, so then you don't have to write this code by your own. There are other interesting classes, for example the grid-tab class, which is the model behind the windows. And the grid-tab class has, for example, interesting methods to set values of other fields of the same tab. Or you can get information about the current tab, like which level it is, what's its name and its description, what's its ID, and yeah, you can get the tab ID, table ID, and you have setters to you can get fields by their column name, you can set fields by their column name, you have the grid field, which is the representation for a given field. It also has methods to get the column name of which field it is, for example, or if it's a virtual column, you can get the column SQL. And other interesting stuff. So take a look at it. What I like to do is to set breakpoints and then debug through the application while it runs, and I go to the web client and change some data and then debug the code to see how the application workflow works. So I hope that this tutorial helps you and that you will take a look at the code and get more familiar with the application, and I see you in the next video.